Hey everybody, my name is Caroline Strawson, rapid transformational therapist specialising in narcissistic abuse. So if you haven't subscribed already to my channel, then please hit the subscribe button, because I do release videos regularly for you to be able to watch to help you not just survive after narcissistic abuse, but thrive. And the reason why I know you can thrive after narcissistic abuse, because I am not only talking the talk, I am walking the walk. 9 years ago, when I came out of my own marriage from a narcissistic relationship, I was left broken. I was suffering with PTSD, depression, anxiety, self-harm. In fact, I used to use the end of my toothpaste to gouge out the tops of my thighs because I was in such a bad place. I had over £70,000 worth of debt. I even had my family home repossessed, and yet I was the one that my two children were looking at to help them through all of this. So I either was going to go one direction, which was a downward spiral, or I needed to take responsibility for my own life. And that's exactly what I did. So over the years, I have studied, I have researched, I have numerous professional qualifications now as a therapist in this area, specialising in narcissistic abuse and PTSD and trauma. And my goal for you is to not just survive after narcissistic abuse, but thrive. I absolutely now am living my best life, and I want that to be for you as well. So in this video today, I've been talking a lot with my clients and those that I have within my groups about brain fog, lack of memory, lack of focus, and also those feelings of exhaustion. So I want to talk to you a bit about today as to the reasons why those are happening, so you stop beating yourself up, stop that inner critic saying you should be here, you should be there, when you're still feeling the way you do. Because when you've been in an abusive relationship, there are physiological changes that happen within the brain. So I'm going to explain that to you in today's video so that you can hopefully understand this in a really simple way, so that you stop beating yourself up. The great thing about how our brain works is it's plastic, so we are able to reverse any of those physiological changes. So I'll give you just a few top tips for that too. So if you imagine that this is your brain, so we have your spinal cord here, we have your brain stem, we have the cerebellum, and then this part of your brain which is called the prefrontal cortex. This is where we do all of our thinking. This is where, when things happen to us, this is where we are going to process it all. Now, when you are in an abusive relationship, over that period of time, we have physiological changes that happen. So you imagine if we are in that abusive relationship and we're always doing the thinking aspect of everything here, through that period of time where we start questioning ourselves, we start thinking, oh, we are crazy, all of the gaslighting, all of that abuse, we flip our lid. Okay, so we flip our lid, and that's just a term that we use just for the nature of showing you exactly how this works. Now, if we flip our lid, it means we are no longer thinking in this part of our brain, in our prefrontal cortex. What takes over then is this part of our brain. And this part of the brain is what we call our limbic system, our emotional part of the brain. And there are two areas in the limbic system that get hugely affected when we've been in an abusive relationship. And that is the hippocampus and the amygdala. Now, the hippocampus is where all of our memory is stored, our short and long-term memory. And the amygdala is our fear center, our fight or flight center. Now, when we've been in an abusive relationship and we stop using our prefrontal cortex because of the ongoing abuse and we flip our lid, this is where we operate. Now, what happens during abuse is the hippocampus will actually get smaller. So if you imagine the hippocampus is where our memory is and it starts to get smaller, then we can understand then why we start to feel brain fog, we start to feel lack of focus, we start to forget things. I know certainly for me, I really struggled, even watching TV. I'd watch TV for 10 minutes and then I'd be flicking the channels. If I sat down to read a book, and I love reading, I could only read 1 or 2 pages and I felt like my eyes were darting everywhere. My head was just full of everything going on and I couldn't focus. My memory became really, really bad. And I've got a great memory. Even in my family, they say I've got a memory like an elephant, okay? But I was forgetting things. I was blocking things out. I was just really struggling with clarity and focus. And I was beating myself up about that because I wanted to have focus, I wanted to have clarity, but I didn't realize that I'd actually had physiological changes that had happened in my brain to make me feel like that. It wasn't just a case of, I hadn't had enough sleep. There was actual changes in my brain that had happened. So it was no surprise then that because of the ongoing abuse, my hippocampus had shrunk, and that's what I was dealing with, that brain fog, that memory loss, that lack of focus. The amygdala, which is where our fear center is, that fight or flight. Now the amygdala has a great job, okay? Because you imagine if you were lying in bed at night and you'd got a burglar coming in, of course you want to be able to react really quickly. And that's what the amygdala does. It's like a radar. So all of a sudden we react and we know we need to react quickly. We have cortisol and adrenaline coursing through our body so that we can, in that moment, fight or flight, okay? So we're able to act quickly. And it's a great thing for us to be able to do that. However, when we have been in an abusive relationship, our amygdala, in those moments where we're walking on eggshells all of the time and we're in that fight or flight, what happens in an abusive relationship is we're in a constant state of fight or flight. So you imagine if you were that person in bed and a burglar came in, yes, in that moment you're going to be ready, fight or flight. That a few days later, your body is going to go back to normal. The cortisol levels are going to stabilize again. However, when you are in an ongoing abusive relationship, our amygdala increases in size because what we do is we become in a constant state of fight or flight. We're hypervigilant all of the time. We're waiting for the next thing. Are we crazy? What is it going to be like when we come home? What is going to happen? And what happens then is the amygdala increases in size and we're in this constant state. So you imagine, think about a time where you feel like you've had a rush of adrenaline and cortisol in a moment, and then normally afterwards you feel kind of exhausted, don't you? Because you feel like you've gone through all of these and you're there ready, but afterwards it's like, oh, and you feel that exhaustion set in. What happens from an abusive relationship, from a narcissistic relationship, we're constantly in that fight or flight mode and our amygdala is constantly there ready. So things that we would have usually been able to cope with, suddenly, because we're in that constant state of fight or flight, we might even drop our keys on the floor and all of a sudden it's a major thing to us. We have cortisol careering around our body. Now I see so many people with my clients and those in my group where they are suffering with stress-related illnesses because cortisol to your body is bad. Now we need it sometimes for certain things, but constantly releasing cortisol into your body has such a big impact on you. I have so many people that have fibromyalgia, migraines, gut issues, adrenal fatigue, liver issues, thyroid issues because of this excess cortisol. And I've seen many of my clients when they've gone through programs with me, when they come out of the other side, all of a sudden they don't have fibromyalgia anymore because it's a stress-related illness, because it's all the cortisol, because you're in that constant state of fight or flight all of the time, and that releases all of that, and it has not only a negative impact on you psychologically but also physiologically as well, because it will have that impact on your body. So when you are going through that ongoing abuse, your hippocampus will shrink and you have that brain fog, you have that forgetfulness, you have that lack of focus, and your amygdala increases in size, so you are ready with whatever life happens. But what that means is it's like you're running marathons every single day of your life. So no wonder you feel tired, no wonder you feel exhausted, no wonder you are getting all of these stress-related illnesses, because it's not just because you can't cope and it's life, it's because of the narcissistic abuse. And this is what I want to get across to you. This is not your fault. How you feel right now is because of the physiological changes that have happened within your brain. Now, the good thing about the brain is, because of neuroscience and neuroplasticity, we can reverse all of that for you. So some top tips to help you with regards to your hippocampus. Mindfulness is amazing. What we want to do is calm the brain down, get that focus back. So meditating, doing some mindfulness techniques. Now that might mean you start off at 2 minutes a day because that's all you can do, but that's okay. Start off small. Remember, little steps lead to giant leaps, and ultimately what we want is for you just to keep moving forward, even if it's the teeniest, tiniest step. With the amygdala, with that constant fight or flight center, then that means slowly starting to heal. No contact, extreme modified contact. Because ultimately, if we've got contact more than we should, we're going to stay in that constant state of fight or flight. And we don't want to do that because it's going to have a negative impact physiologically on your body. We've already got those physiological brain changes, and we want to stop any physical changes then in your body too. So we need to have no contact or extreme modified contact. We need to relax. We need to have moments of self-care. Now, if you have children, I see this time and time again when people have kids. Oh, I put my kids first. And whilst that is admirable, actually you're doing a disservice to your children by doing that. You need to come first, because how can you parent from a half-filled cup? You need to fill yourself up first. That's why on an aeroplane they always say, when those oxygen masks drop down, put your own mask on first, because you can't help people if you aren't able to function. So I get it sounds admirable, I put my kids first, but actually you can be an even better parent when you put yourself first, and it's really important to do that. So that might mean having time for yourself, setting time where, if people can either look after your children or anything like that, you need that time. We need to quieten that brain down. We need to feel like we don't need to be in this constant state or fight or flight. But that is usually when we still have contact. This is why when I'm teaching my clients and in my groups, the number one thing I start off with is creating that environment where you have minimal contact with your ex-partner, with the narcissist in your life. It is really important. Now, that narcissist might be your parents, it might be your friends. You need to have set and clear boundaries there in place. Minimal contact, even if they're your family. And if they're your ex-partner, then you need to have a robust system in place. If you don't have children, you completely go no contact. If you do have children, then I teach extreme modified contact and parallel parenting techniques with that too. Now, if you've enjoyed this video and you want to learn how I can keep carrying on helping you thrive after narcissistic abuse, then come and join my Super Thriver Circle. Now, the Super Thriver Circle is a membership for women to thrive after narcissistic abuse. It's for women only, but don't worry guys, I do one-to-one coaching with men. So if you want to explore any one-to-one coaching or therapy with myself, then please contact me. You'll see all the details below that you can do that as well. But the Super Thriver Circle is a brand new online membership that I have for you to thrive after narcissistic abuse, and you get direct access to me, you get regular coaching, you get therapy in there, you get Super Thriver lessons to really help you move forward, because I want to help everybody become a super thriver like myself, because ultimately you're on this planet for a short period of time. This isn't a dress rehearsal, and I really want to help you heal all of those inner wounds, practically how you can cope on a day-to-day basis, and then really start to plan the rest of your life and go on and thrive. So don't forget, if you've not subscribed to my channel, please hit the subscribe button, and I look forward to seeing you in the next videos.